All right, so here we are, an update. I've done the American counters. Funny thing is, the Americans don't have any closed-topped SP guns. Kind of weird. They're all open-topped. So I don't think you will ever use the closed-top on the Americans, or the CE on the Americans. They're always CE. Very interesting. Anyway, here are the American colors. One thing to note before people continue to scream, there are in the unit basic, the unit tab on the Valzel counters. I don't think you'll see it on here. No, because my window's different. Go to unit, vehicle, and CE status. These are turrets. So even if we do incorporate this, you could stick it on for those individuals that like to have their stuff on their counter so they can see it. Those are still available. So we can have our cake and eat it too. I'm not sure why it's marked move. So you can easily go, I mean that, you know where the turret covered arc is there. You know what it is there. It doesn't necessarily move the counter, but you can move it with the counter just like you do everything else. You just highlight it and move it, not a big deal. So we can have our cake and eat it too. We can button that guy up. It's the same old thing, and just move him around. Actually, for those people, that like them on smack dab on top of the center counter, there you go. You just swivel it around right there. To be honest with you, it could be a little better. I don't know. But the turret counters are not eliminated. There are white counters in the Valzel counter mix under unit vehicle. The same thing with the button ups. The button ups also exist. So even though if we go through this change in the future, it's not going to be a quick change. I have a couple of people that already have or that will be getting some updated mods, and they'll be trying them out in some of their games. So also to note that technically, if you're playing against me and I have this change in my system, I will see my turrets, you will see the old turrets. But that's only if you personally get the mod from me. So if I change, like, you know, mod 6.6 or whatever the mod may be, this happens to be 6.5.1, and then I just send you a copy of my mod, well, then you have all the changes. You know, when I finish them all up, they're all just there. So, and then for the people that don't care about it, they can have their own damn turrets. And so you can have your quote cake and eat it too. It would have to be on a central server, but so it doesn't necessarily have to be widespread. But to be honest with you, I was speaking with Sturk with regards to campaign games, and he likes to use, because he's at a wider scale, he's like at this scale here, or yeah, he's further out, because campaign games are just giant maps. So when he sees a turret on a vehicle like that, well, not necessarily like that, but as it's peeled, Jesus, as it's peeled off a counter like you normally would have a CE counter. Actually, this one peels off even more. So technically, these counters are more visible than the actual counters. So anyway, but when he peels off from a distance, what he's doing is he's using the actual counter. It doesn't really matter what the counter is, but he knows that there's a counter there that brings his attention to it. Well, when you have other counters, I mean, this is like a large view. You're looking far away from it. But for the campaign guys, that's something they might use. But even at this distance, I could see that there's a turret there. Not many people technically play at this distance, maybe if you're gross moving. But at a nominal play scale of what you're looking at here, I can clearly see that turret. I mean, to me, it's just clear. Now there you can't see it, but you can't see it there anyway when you're moving the turret. But when you deselect, you can see the turret as it's moving around the vehicle. You know, for me, I could just, it's just a matter of getting used to seeing the turret. Right there, because you can see the counter and that it's covering the main armament, it just makes it pop even more. And then the buttoned up is the same. I've modified it a little bit so that because it's the Americans, I've dropped it down here a little bit. Again, it's covering up a little bit of the armor, but then you just click it. 8 armor, but I didn't want to cover both pieces of armor, so I didn't want to put it on the top side. So I just chose to cover one. You can still see what direction it's going, and you know, buttoned up, CE, buttoned up, CE. CE is obviously darker, and so you know, it's just like looking at the top of the tank. So that's obviously buttoned up. For me, it's just really, I mean, even at this distance, this isn't even close. And then you've got this distance here, and then buttoned up over there. I kind of moved it off there. That probably needs to move a little bit further, but on the counter you can see it. Same thing as that. Boom, boom, boom. Over here it's on the gun, but I wanted to pull it down further away from the counter to get it off the counter so you could actually see it a little bit better as it hangs off. It's on the counter edge, so if you should happen to put vehicles, or not vehicles, but infantry there in the hex, you know, it doesn't, the infantry's not going to get in the way. So, but you still see when you deselect the vehicle that there's a turret there. So, but you know, a lot of people will play at this level, and so you'll see the visibility will be even better. I mean, especially when you're CE, because it's just darker. There's just a darker indent on your vehicle. It's just, I mean, you've got a light green vehicle and you've got a dark spot on it. So, and then buttoned up, of course, is the opposite. Buttons up is a little lighter. Yep. So that's what we're looking at. This is what an American vehicle looks like, and that's green on green now. So that's going to be, again, comparative to the SS counters, green on green is actually another bad transition. But you can still see the turret on the vehicle counter, you know, and if you zoom out, you can still see the turret quite visibly there. And up here, you have to just, you know, click it on it. You could see it. Obviously it's not as distinct as the white counter. So theoretically, if you're playing a campaign game and we want to implement the counters for when you get closer, the white counters technically even pop even more for the campaign game usage. So if you need to see particular turreted directions of your enemy vehicles, and to be honest with you, these counters that are turreted here, we have to actually, you could just click on it like that, and you know it's on the bottom if you know what direction it's going, and it's not covering the counter. But there, it's covering the counter. And here again, you could just change what direction the thing is pointing. You know, you can just leave it on the count right here in the same spot, or you could put it on the back, and you could change the turret thusly. I mean, to be honest with you, with the current iteration of the counters, of the CE counters, the independent counter is even better. But a lot of people like to have their, you know, the green turrets on green tanks, the yellow turrets on yellow tanks, things like that. That's the idea behind this. I think there's merit for both of them, but preferences are still there. I think I like this one here. I haven't played a game with it. Again, we're going to throw out some tests. If you're interested in the test and you want the VMod, which at least has the Americans in it, if you're going to play an American scenario or whatever like that, let me know what sides you're working with. It doesn't matter what vehicles you are, because it applies to all the vehicles. But if you're going to run a tank scenario, something like that with Russian, German, I haven't done the Russian Germans yet, but let me know what nationalities you're playing. That way I could send you the mod with the changes so you can play with it and kind of go through it. It's just like learning Vassal. It's just something else that, you know, like anything else, it's just something, it is different from the turret counter, but you get to see what the hell's on the vehicle. I mean, that's the whole point, right, guys? But I understand that there are other views, and so that's what we're trying to look for. We're trying to look for solutions for other things. And I think, to be honest with you, the turret counter for the larger games that pop out can be useful for that. And these you could just clone, you know, Control K, and you could have your stack of counters. You could have your stack of counters over on the side. So you just grab one counter. You just grab one counter, stick it on your tank. And a lot of times it's easier than than doing this right click TCA, because you're always going the wrong direction anyway, right? So, but that's where we are here. I just want to show you the green counters and to see how they differ. And this one here is, you know, pop there. It's green on green. Again, another thing. One thing we can do is we can possibly have, you know, a red outline on the backside. The one thing about the red outline, I think it might be good. I might have to try it, but it just might add more distraction in terms of color. But it's something that could be possibly done. Is just put a red right on the outside of the counter, just on the tip here. Do you see this? Just on the tip there. And then we on the back side, just on the tip here, just on the tip here, just on the tip here. That might be something. That would be something that could be easily done, and that might be something worthwhile. Not white, because it won't work on the desert on the snow maps. Speaking of snow maps, here's what it would look on the snow map. Pretty much 90% of the time, you're going to be looking at the counter anyway, for your information. So, it seems to pop off the white pretty good. You know, you're still talking about a small barrel, but the cannons on the left-hand side over here, this one here, cannot be moved any further over. It would be nice to get the front of the turret off. Can't be done. Not that I know of. These other counters are such that they can be positioned differently on the base counter. So, but that's what the white looks like on that. So you can see this one swivel around actually pretty damn easily, in my opinion. You can see that swivel around. All right, so there we go. That's what we're looking at, the Americans. And let me know if you're interested in getting a copy and what nationalities. Don't say, hey, send me a copy. I need to know what nationalities that you want to play with in terms of your next game. And that way it's easier. Obviously, if everyone sticks with like Russian, German, American, Russian, German, then it's much easier that way. I won't have to change absolutely everything, because there's like about 16 to 18 nationalities out there. So anyway, I won't change any of the white turrets. The white turrets will always be in the game. This will always be in the game, so you don't ever have to change your turret this way. You just add the counter and then move the counter around just like you would your infantry stack, exactly the same way. So it can be done exactly the same way. So anyway, there we are. Thanks for watching.